give me a few seconds, and hopefully I can figure out. I just need to get the web link and share it. So just give me a few seconds. Thanks for watching, whoever you are, the 2 people that are watching this right now. Okay, I need to find the YouTube link. Let's see here if I can get this correctly. For anyone that is watching, head on over to the Wolfe Media page. I posted the link there, and I will do. If anyone has any questions, please comment on the link with the video link, and I will take questions there. If I don't get to your questions, I apologize. That may be me, honestly. Alright, everyone. Wolfe here. This is episode 1 of the newly revamped Motocast. It's been a long while since I've done this. Still a few bugs to work out, of course. Obviously, it took me forever to even get this going. So bear with me. You know, it's going to take me a few little trial runs to get this going the right way, the way that I want to. But thanks for tuning in. Going to talk about a lot of things tonight. We got Supercross coming up, A1, the 2018 kickoff, the opener at Angel Stadium for the Supercross series is coming up this Saturday night. Also this Saturday night, we've got the opening round of the 2018 Arena Cross series at the Nutter Center in Dayton, Ohio. And the most important thing on this list, one of the things we're going to be talking about, the 2018 Action Sports Arena Motocross at the Big Sandy Superstore Arena in Huntington. And we're going to be covering all that stuff. Going to have the man himself with that race coming on here in a little bit, Drew Wolfe. My father, the man, the myth, the legend, and as he is known to some people, the king. Which, honestly, kind of is. So, once again, thanks for all you guys that are watching. We're up to 5 followers right now, or 5 watchers right now, so that's awesome. Hey, look at that, we're at 6. So, until the old man gets here, we're going to be talking about Supercross. A1 is coming up here in a few days at Angel Stadium. This might be one of the most hyped season openers in the last few years, mainly because of the 94. Ken Roczen, everyone saw that huge get-off he had at the 3rd round of the year. Broken arm, 11 surgeries on that one. He's back, from what I'm hearing from industry people that I know, out the test tracks, sponsors. everybody like that. Sounds like he is ripping. Sounds like he's actually going even faster than he was last year before the crash. So I'm interested to see how Kenny comes back with this, with the injury and everything. I mean, he almost had a dozen surgeries. He almost lost his arm. For anybody that didn't know, developed compartment syndrome in his arm and his elbow where the fracture was. And usually a lot of people, when they get that, they end up losing the arm entirely. They end up getting it amputated. But it sounds like he's back, and he's going to be full force on the factory Honda, the HRC machine with the Red Bull sponsorship. So we'll see how he fares at the opener. We're talking 450 class at first right off the bat, and for whatever reason I lost the video, so I need to figure that out. Probably gonna have to record onto this just to keep it going. Sorry about that. Hopefully the audio kept picking up on it. If you can hear me, please let me know. Looks like I'm getting good levels out of the microphone here. So, okay, there we go. We're probably getting two audio sources there. So hopefully this works. Now that I got it going, we'll bring that up a little bit, and hopefully this works right. So, alright, for those of you that are just joining in, we got about 10 people watching now. We're talking about Ken Roxon. We'll stay on the 450 class. We're talking Anaheim 1 for those of you that are just joining in. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, anything you want to say about Supercross, about any of the riders, what your predictions are, please leave them in the comments down below. Or, the link is on Facebook. Due to technical difficulties, things aren't working exactly the way I want them to. But, leave a comment anywhere, and we will get all this sorted out in due time. So, but obviously Kenny is the main focus on the comeback right now, and like we were saying, that crash that he had really messed him up. The big thing that everyone's going to be watching for right now is whether Roxon can come back. And not only that, but right now it looks like Eli Tomac has the bullseye on his back, just because he's coming off that outdoor title from last year, which came down close to the wire actually, and Tomac's the question mark. He strung off those wins last year, and he kind of had some issues. Like the question that a lot of people ask, and I kind of ask this at times, is if he is mentally strong enough. Now, before anyone gets into a fit over what I just said, yes, I know he's won a 250 West title before. He's won races. He just won the outdoor title. But as soon as he gets on a roll, he always does something to derail the tracks. So I don't know if it's a confidence problem, or choking, or what it is, but something always seems to happen to him where he can't just continue on the roll. A bad race to a lot of guys is 2, maybe 3 positions worse than winning. Second, third, fourth, maybe a 5th every once in a while. When Eli has a bad race, he has a bad race. Look back to Dallas last year. That was a brake issue that malfunctioned, so you can't really chalk that one up on him, even though, okay, the brake is what caused him to crash, as it turns out. But take a look at New Jersey. All he had to do was just ride it out, and he kept making mistakes. He ended up crashing. He finished, 9th or something like that in that race. So, the question is, can Eli keep it together? Now, having said that, the man with all the momentum right now is Musquin. Marvin Musquin aboard the Red Bull KTM. He has been flying right now. He won the Million at Monster Cup. He won every race, every match race, including the overall at Red Bull Straight Rhythm. He's won every international race this year that he's gone to. He's gone to, he went to Bercy, he went to Geneva. Those might have been the only two that he competed in. But you know, Marvin has all the momentum right now, and I think he has finally got it figured out to where he knows he can run with those guys and he can do it consistently. You know, his rookie year, we didn't see the consistency. This past season, we saw a little bit better. Things went wrong. He finally got a couple of wins, even though, let's be honest, one was handed to him. So, but I honestly think Marvin has all the momentum right now. Kenny, we won't know what's going on with him until the first heat race that he's in at Angel Stadium. Tomac, we're going to have to wait until we get about midway through the season before we can determine whether or not he's going to, you know, lock this thing up, since he is the odds-on favorite. You go to guys, you know, the other guys in the class, Cooper Webb, you know, Justin Barsha, who's got the factory Yamaha ride. Those are the two factory Yamaha guys. Webb, who has been riding. Barsha, who is only locked in for the first 6 rounds of the series. And I gotta think, though, just from what I am hearing from everyone, he is going to be finishing out the year. Because what I'm hearing, what I heard before Davey got hurt was, well, this is a 1-year contract anyway, and he was going to ride this year out under Yamaha. He's going to give it one more shot and then call it a career. And then now he's hurt, so I'm kind of wondering if he isn't going to call it now. You know, Barsha's only got a 6-race deal, so we'll see what happens with all that. You know, if he does, in fact, if Yamaha only keeps him for the 6 races. Let me know what you guys think. We saw him at Monster Cup on that privateer Honda that you know, Morgantown Power Sports helped him out with, Bonsai Suspension helped him out with, and now that I say that, since I had so many difficulties, I'm a little scatterbrained. Let's plug in some sponsors right now and get them their first mentions. This is the Motocast presented by AOMC. A lot of great products on there. They're have every manufacturer from KTM, Husky, Beta, Yamaha, Kawasaki, all the manufacturers. They got parts for them, accessories, just whatever you need, you can get it at AOMC. So if you need anything, head on over to aomc.mx. Sign up for the BrapCoin rewards program. Anytime you share anything from the website, make an approved review on Facebook, share anything on Facebook, you build up points that you can redeem towards future purchases at AOMC, as well as just purchasing from the website itself. You create your account. As soon as you make a purchase, you get your BrapCoin rewards. So do that. Head on over to aomc.mx. Sign up for the Brap rewards, the BrapCoin rewards. Also, got to give a thanks to Wiseco Performance for getting on board with this year, as well as ProX. Great products out of them. My dad, whenever he gets in here, just got a piston. That is, he just got a piston from Wiseco, and I just lost my lighting. Thank you very much. Wiseco's been backing me, as well as my dad, my brother, forever. We got ProX on board, and we also have Bonsai Suspension on board. Levi Kilbarger helping us out. You need any suspension during the year, head on over to Levi, check out Bonsai Suspension on Facebook. And I believe he's got a new website going as well, or he's got it in the works anyway. Thanks to all those great companies for coming on board with the Motocast. As I start figuring this out more and more and more, it will start working better. I will get a little bit better at this and make it a little bit more professional. And once Dad gets in here, we can go back and forth. But anyway, back to Supercross. We always have the issue with riders getting hurt, and this brings up a good point. We're only going to see this at A1 as far as I know right now, but Trey Kennard, he announced his retirement this year. He's actually going to be at Anaheim 1. They're starting to build the track they started yesterday actually building the racetrack. They started on New Year's Eve. They're building the track. They're going to have it done Wednesday, I believe, because they have press on Thursday and then cleaning up everything on Friday until the race on Saturday. And Trey is basically going to be there as a consultant to how the jumps are built, how the track is designed, even though the track's already designed. Every single round this year is already designed, so I'm kind of interested to see how that works. I know a lot of the Dirtworks guys, the track crew that's involved with that, so I've been talking to them, and I'm getting mixed opinions on Trey's involvement, so maybe talk to them once Anaheim 1's over, maybe get Trey to call in later on this year when he's available, and maybe get some insight from him on how the whole deal worked out. But you know, going back in to the rest of what we were talking about before, sorry to jump all over the place on you guys. But as far as 450 Supercross is concerned, you know, we covered the big three. Gotta throw in the fourth one actually. Jason Anderson on the Rockstar Husqvarna. Jason looked really good this year in Geneva, and before that at the Ausnex Open in Australia. So I think Jason has is finally starting to get everything together. And I'll tell you who's also looking good is his Husqvarna teammate Dean Wilson, and that was such an awesome story last year with Dino, you know, coming in on a privateer bike for the first 3, 4, 5 rounds, I think, on a Yamaha. Yeah, it was getting top 15s, but, you know, it was just him and his dad in a van and an easy up, doing it old school. And then, you know, when Purcell, who is now since retired, Christophe Purcell, if you haven't seen, he has announced his retirement from racing. He left the Supercross series because of his neck injury that he got and went to Canada, so the Husqvarna spot got filled by Dean Wilson, and he really put in some great rides last year. And in Supercross and on the outdoors, so I'm really excited to see what Dean can do this year now that he's had a full year under the belt. Has a lot of testing in. Him and Tyler have, or Daniel actually, have been doing a lot of testing, getting ready for this year. Daniel's another guy I want to have in here, just get a mechanics perspective in the show here. Talk to him, talk to Shanny, get a lot of the guys in here as featured guests on this show. And I think we're gonna have a good time with this. And then the big news, that kind of really surprised everyone, and I had heard about it through the grapevine before it actually happened, but it was just rumors, and that was Brock Tickle basically taking the the vacated spot at Red Bull KTM, factory KTM Racing, you know, which was basically Dungey's spot, let's just be honest. You know, it was interesting to see him. It's interesting to hear that Tickle gets the spot. I like Brock. You know, he won the Western 250 title years ago. I think it was 2012, 2011 maybe. Yeah, he's got the last Monster Energy Pro Circuit Supercross title, actually, I believe that's the case. So he gets the spot, and I guess from what everyone's been saying, you know, on the hush hush, I still get some insight as he's moved down to Florida. He's on the program with Alden Baker, who is still training Anderson and Osborne and Muscan. So now Tickle is on that program, and I guess he is looking really, really good. And Tickle's always been a great rider. You know, I think he's always under the radar just because of how quiet his finishes are and his performances. But I think if Brock could get a start, like, I'd really think Brock is almost in a way similar to Mike LaRocco. You know, LaRocco could never ever buy a start. The 3 times that I remember him actually getting a start, getting a hole shot, he won. You know, he never actually had to pass his way in the lead. Nobody actually challenged him. If he got the hole shot, LaRocco won. And I think he only did it 3 times. Yeah, there were those several times. I think LaRocco has like 15 wins all time, something like that. But a lot of times he did it coming from the back. And honestly, and I've had this discussion with guys before as far as LaRocco is concerned, not to get off topic again, but Jeremy McGrath has 72 wins. That number would not be that high if LaRocco could have gotten himself off the gate. So, I'm really hoping that KTM and Brock can get the starts figured out to where Brock can get a top 5 start, run up front with those guys, maybe get some podiums. I don't know if Brock's going to be a contender for the championship this year. I'd love for him to prove me wrong, but I think realistically, if he can get a start, a solid top 5 guy, which is better than the solid top 10 guy he's been since he moved into the 450 class. He did get the podium this year at, where was it? Salt Lake City, I think. If somebody knows better than I do, tell me. Comment down below. So yeah, I really think Tickle could be a new rider this year, so I'm excited to see how he does. And then, so we've covered Husqvarna, we covered KTM, we covered Yamaha. We'll go to Kawasaki. We already talked about Tomac, the second rider on that team, Josh Grant. I think Josh, more than likely, is probably near the end of his career. And the only reason I'm saying that is because of all the injuries that he had, even though now his ankles, which has been the problem for him the last few years, his ankles are fixed. He got them fixed before 2017. And, he finally feels good. He knows he can ride, like he knows he can ride. The problem is, he turned pro in 2004. This will be year 15 for him, for Grant, which is really on the longevity side of things. I mean, the only guy that you see, I think, I'm trying to think here, the only guys that have been going as long as Grant or longer would be Millsaps if he comes back this year, Chad Reed, who is, as far as here in the United States, this will be Reed's 19th year, which is, did I do that right? No, 17th year. This will be Reed's 17th year in the class. So, that's another one. I'll get to Reed in a second. But, Grant, I think Grant's still a possible top 5 guy on a good night. That's the thing. When the stars all align for Josh Grant, he throws down as good as anybody, and if he gets a start, he can run with those guys. Problem is, same as Tickle, he hasn't got a start in the last several years, but Grant's one of those guys I love to watch ride. He's got great style, one of those personalities you gotta like, and I'm really hoping that he can turn things around. I'm a big advocate for a lot of these guys. I really want him to perform better than what they've shown us the last few years. So, and here's another thing that Grant has to think about if he's not calling it after this year. There haven't been any rumors, so don't, go thinking that there are. There haven't been any rumors saying that Grant's going to bail after this season. However, it looks like Cowie is still only going to go to 2 spots from here on out, and I think this is the last year on Grant's contract. Here's the thing you got to think about. You have multiple guys from the 250 class that are going to be moving up this year that are going to be looking to bite, chomp that spot. So if Grant doesn't perform well this year, he might lose a spot to one of the upcoming 250 guys, and I'll get to the 250 guys here later. But yeah, so there's 4 of them. We'll go to Suzuki. And, JGR taking over the factory Suzuki effort this year. Since RCH folded up shop, they couldn't get the sponsor money, which is a shame. I know Kerry Hart and Kenny Watson, those guys, Kyle and all them, they worked really hard in that program. They did a great job of that program, getting that Supercross title, or no, getting the outdoor title with Kenny back in 2015, I believe it was. So, it sucks that RCH is out of the picture, but at least Suzuki is making a presence, even though it's coming at an unconventional sort of way from Suzuki corporate. For those of you that haven't seen the press release, even though it's been a couple of months, Suzuki pulled all their support from the World Championships, the MXGP World Championships over in Europe. as well as support from their own series in Japan, which is odd. Now, obviously, bike sales are better in the United States compared to anywhere else in the world. That's just fact. But since the bikes are built and developed and tested and everything in Japan, it's weird that they wouldn't put support, even a little bit, or, you know, at least a big presence, somewhat of a big presence, in Japan, because that's where they're built. So that's a interesting development, in my opinion. But you know, JGR, Auto Trader, Suzuki, the 450 guys, Weston Pike, and Justin Bogle. And everyone, a few people have asked me this. They're like, man, why did Suzuki take Pike and not Barcia? And the simple way of explaining this is, one, they wanted Pike. They like working with Pike. They show, he shows a lot of promise. Two, Barcia wasn't happy, so I don't think he was that all hurt about not, from what I've been told. It doesn't sound like Barcia was all that happy with the Suzuki, even though he wasn't that happy with the Yamaha. When JGR was on Yamahas, and then I've heard that he wasn't happy with the Honda when he was on factory Honda. So, can we find Minami? Are those still around? If we can find Minami after this Yamaha ride ends, if it only lasts 6 rounds, let's find Minami, or let's see if Pingree can get a Tornado. If you guys know what the Tornadoes are, then you follow your racing really well. But Pike, from what I've been seeing with the videos and what guys have told me that work somewhat with Pike or the JGR Suzuki team, is that he's looking way better than he has the last couple years. And right up until he got hurt at whatever race that was last year, I can't remember exactly. I think it was round 5, so that would have been, I don't know, Glendale, Phoenix area. But who knew? Pulp's on right now. But I really think that if Pike can stay healthy, I think he's gonna really do some damage this year. And then Bogle, we saw what he did. Bogle's the only guy out of that JGR Suzuki team that is not living in North Carolina, that's not putting his base in North Carolina. And that's because he's down at the farm at Ricky Carmichael's house. When he made the move down there after Supercross last year, everything started turning around. He got podiums, he got a couple moto wins, he got that overall at Budds Creek. So moving to Ricky's really helped out his cause. So, and hearing from Jeremy Albrecht, he's fine with that, whatever works. But the rest of the Suzuki team, Pike and the 250 riders, the 4 250 guys they have for that team, are all based down there in Charlotte. So, Pike and Bogle. Bogle, I think we're still waiting for him to show the promise that he showed us in the 250 ranks. So, if he can, he's working with Ricky. If he can get, a little bit more refined, we'll see what happens. You guys saw the crash at Monster Cup. He came back, got hurt again. So, if he can get the wheels turning, get everything back on track, I guess with the injury after the Monster Cup injury, he's supposedly going to show up at A1 and race, but it doesn't sound like we should be expecting the full Justin Bogle until maybe round 4 or 5, from round 4 to 7 basically, is maybe when we'll see a fully healthy Justin Bogle. So we'll see how that goes. I think if Weston Pike can get a start, he's a podium guy. He's a bulldog. He's not afraid to let it all out on the racetrack. He's not afraid to get aggressive with those guys, particularly Vince Friese. Everyone knows that. We all saw what happened a couple years ago. So, we had those guys in there with the Suzuki. And, following up last with Cole Seeley, we already talked about rocks on the HRC factory Honda. Cole, I think he needs to step it up this year. I think this is his last year on the Honda contract. So he needs to step it up this year if he wants his ride for next year. And you know, if he can raise the intensity, you know, he's gotten a win. He's won a race before. Houston, 2015, I believe it was. So if he can do that, if he can, you know, at least get himself on the podium more consistently like he did in the outdoors this year, I think he can fight with those guys. But like I said, his biggest problem is his intensity. I think at the beginning of the race, I think his intensity lacks what some of the guys like Tomac, Roxon, Pike, Anderson, I think those guys have a higher intensity, even though Seeley, more times than not, can beat Pike. But his intensity is what needs to improve, in my opinion. But, you know, that covers 450 guys, the main headers in that 450 class. We'll go to one more team, actually, now that I think about it. Since I mentioned Freese, the Moto Concepts team. 3-rider team this year. We've already mentioned Freese, Freese, if he can work on his fitness, because his intensity is about as high as anyone, but I think his fitness and his confidence is what holds him back, because we can all see when he gets a start, he runs up front. He'll run top 5 for a few laps until the adrenaline wears off, and then he starts to fade. So, you know, Vince has always been one of those guys. He came in under the radar, out of the amateur ranks, ran 250, got a fill-in ride with Geico Honda there back, gee, many Christmas. How long has this been? 2011? I think it's when he had that ride. So, you know, and then he's been with Moto Concepts for 5 or 6 years now. You know, I helped Vince at Daytona one year, just bending some stuff back on his motorcycle when he crashed in practice. But, you know, Vince gets a bad rap. Yeah, on the track, he is what he is. Off the track, great guy, cool to be around. We'll talk to you all day. But on the track is where his reputation really hurts him as far as an individual person. But you know, I spent time with Vince. Great guy. But as far as being on the racetrack is concerned, he needs to bring that level of intensity. Well, he's got the intensity. He needs to bring the fitness up. He needs to bring the confidence up. If he can do that, he will be a top 10 guy this year, I believe. You know, there's so many guys in this class, in this 450 class, that are potential, that have or can be solid top 10 guys. You know, this year or in past life, you know, in past seasons, they have been consistent top 10 guys. So, Freeze is the next rider that should be able to make his way into that. As far as the other Moto Concepts guys, Justin Brayton, he's coming off his second Australian championship. And from, I've been seeing videos that he's been posting, that other guys have been posting from Club MX. He's been training down at Club down there in South Carolina. He looks really, really good. And the thing about him is, with him doing a couple of these off-season, overseas races, mainly doing the whole Australian series, he's already warmed up. You know, this will be race, you know, essentially 9 for him. So he's already coming in with some warm-up. You know, he's already into race pace from doing the Australian series and winning that championship the second time. So I'm really interested to see what he can bring to the table compared to past years. I really wish, you know, when he was on the factory Honda there about 5 years ago, when he was giving Villapoto a fit at some of those rounds, I really wish he would have gotten that win. I think that would have changed things a lot. But, you know, last he didn't. I think his winning days might be behind him. But I think on a good night, I think Brayton can still get a top 5. The third rider on that team, Jake Weimer, he got hurt very, very badly. I can't even remember all the list of injuries. I think a shoulder, maybe some vertebrae, collarbone, arm, something like that. I mean, he messed himself up big time. He's back on the bike. He's been back on the bike for about 3 weeks or a month, something like that. You know, Jake's the former Western 250 champion, you know, regional champion. He's never shown us quite the promise, maybe that a lot of people expected out of him when he jumped up on the 450 and had the factory Kawasaki ride right there with Villapoto. you know, Jake's, just thinking back on it, Jake's one of those guys that, I don't know, there was so much inconsistency just with his program. You know, he was with Randy Lawrence, then he was with Alden. He didn't like the program with Alden, so he went back to Randy Lawrence, where he was in a better mood. And I'm not saying his results and his finishes went down when he went back with Randy, but I don't know if I don't remember seeing a whole lot of improvements. I don't know if that was just maybe he plateaued, you know, he peaked. He's gotten 1 or 2 podiums, I think, 450 wise in his career, but you know, I don't want to say Jake has peaked, but it's kind of looking that way. But I don't know. You know, G-Mate, Christmas. Okay, he's in here. Sorry. You know, I think Weimer, one of those guys. Same with Grant. Maybe same with Braden. Maybe on their way out here in the next season or two. But we'll see what happens as the old man finally drops by. He's coming in here. Shut the door behind you. I didn't get it shut, and it is freezing. Welcoming into the studio right now, the man, the myth, the legend, and some circles around the local area here known as the King, my old man, and the head of Action Sports Racing, who is running a race, their only indoor race this weekend, Drew Wolfe. Dad, thanks for coming in, and it sounds like it is still freezing cold outside.
It's very cold outside. Sorry I'm late. I just flew in and my plane was delayed. So Trey Kennard was asking for some advice on his new job. So
new gig as a consultant with the track crew and everything.
Yeah, so he wanted to get my opinion on some stuff. I helped him out, I think, a little bit, but we'll see how it goes.
Is that didn't you give Villapoto some advice too? I think it was like his 3rd championship year.
Giving a lot of people advice on their racing. Usually I tell them, get the whole shot, ride as fast as you can, faster than everybody else. Don't crash and you'll win. And when they take my advice, it works every time. So all I can do is help.
Well, thanks for coming in. I was just I was talking 450s. We'll kind of go over about that a little bit. You haven't been following as closely as I have, but you know, I think the big question that everyone wants answered, and we'll get the answer when Anaheim 1 rolls around, is you know, Ken Roxon's health situation. You know, you saw it, everyone saw it. It was the crash heard around the world with him breaking his arm and almost losing his arm, in a sense, with all the surgeries that he had. He almost got compartment syndrome, or he did get compartment syndrome, almost lost his arm. What do you think? You know, just you've been around this a long time. You've seen guys with big injuries like that. Some of them come back, some of them don't. What do you think? From what I've been seeing, what I've been hearing, he's looking really good out at Hondaland at the test track. Just what's your opinion on Roxon?
I don't know, man. It's hard to say when someone is that fast and that dedicated and that strong. He's evidently totally dedicated to the cause. He's done everything he possibly can do to get back as fast as he can get back. Stayed in shape the best he could while he was hurt. And I don't know. Mentally, I don't know if it's, you know, I was incredibly fast and probably had a chance at a factory ride. So, you know, I know how fast some of those guys are, but to go out there on that stage after a crash like that, and I don't know, you know, time will tell, but mentally it's got to be in the back of your mind that something like that could happen again.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. You know, he's got to, but yeah, to a point, he starts thinking about that too much, and that's really going to hurt his performance. You know, if that's in the back of his mind too much, that's going to hurt his riding, and you know, it's in a sense, you know, from what he's been saying. I've seen videos, I've read interviews, everything. You know, him coming back, if he doesn't win the title this year, it's not a failure, which I think is a good way to look at it, honestly. You know, and especially after what everything he's gone through. He had 11 surgeries on his arm. I mean, I think it was surgery 3 before they got all the mud out of his arm from when he hit.
Well, I don't know. Like I say, time will tell. It's going to be a tough one for him, and you know, I don't know. I don't have much to say on it because there's just, you can speculate all you want, but it's a tough injury. For most people, it probably would have been a career-ending injury. I think it had a lot to do with Ryan Dungey retiring. I don't know. Ryan Dungey, to me, is the smartest guy there is right now. Retiring young and healthy and rich, and saw what could happen when Roxon went down and got out. I think just in the right time and had nothing left to prove. Great champion. So now it's up to Roxon and Tomac, Marvin Musquin,
Anderson. Yeah, those are
right.
Those are the big four.
So I don't know. It's going to be an interesting season, I think.
And that's what I was talking about earlier before you walked in. You know, I think, you know, Musquin has been doing a lot of the off-season races. You know, the European races. That guys used to do way back when. You know, McGrath did them, Stanton always did them, Bradshaw. You know, back in the '90s. Musquin has been cleaning house. He won both nights in Bercy. He won both nights in Geneva. He won Monster Cup. He won the $1 million at Monster Cup. He's $1 million richer right now. He won Straight Rhythm pretty convincingly. You know, the only off-season race that we saw at a Tomac was Monster Cup, and he crashed out of the first race. So, yeah. You know, I think everyone's putting the bullseye on Tomac just because of him stringing off all the wins that he did last year. He won 9 of the races, but he didn't wrap up the title. And I mentioned this, you know, you can allude back to Dallas when the front brake failed, which caused the crash, which caused him to lose all the positions. But, you know, that wasn't his fault. That was a bike malfunction. The one that you can really pin to him was New Jersey, when he just basically tanked it and crashed, rode, you know, a whole bunch of mistakes. He ended up finishing 9th, and that's ultimately what cost him the 450 title last year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if you can. I guess you're right. He's got to be the one with the most pressure on it. I would say Roxon has the least amount of pressure on him because no one. I don't know how anyone could expect him to go out there and win a title after that injury. But if he's looking as good as they say he is on the test track, and he comes back 100%, then you know, he's going to put enough pressure on himself, I think, to make it a demanding challenge for him.
Yeah, I agree. And you know, I kind of went through a lot of the teams and the riders, and one guy I didn't mention, we'll touch on him really quick before we get into Huntington this weekend. I don't know if you've been seeing this or you even knew if I even have told you, but Chad Reed, who since being over here, this is year 17 over here professionally in the United States, plus the couple years in Australia and Europe when he was racing the GPs. But he's going on his own with Mike Gosser on a Husqvarna out of a van. He's doing the 2-2 Motorsports deal, but it's privateer as you can get. I think Husky is giving him some support, but he's basically privateer, you know, a 2-time champion.
Well, I saw it on Facebook or somewhere the other day where I didn't even know what the brand of motorcycle was. I thought it was a white Honda, but I saw the 22 and I didn't read much into it, but I don't know. He's getting old, and he had a pretty dismal season last year. I'm a fan, but I think, I don't know. I don't expect much out of him, and maybe a low-key ride. Maybe he'll go out there and have fun, and not a lot of pressure, not a lot of expectations, and maybe he'll do better. but I don't expect it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to tell. I know he wasn't really gelling with Yamaha last year, which is weird considering that's what he won those 2 titles on. But you know, I guess this is just what I heard, that there were some conflicting decisions. You know, from what he wanted on the motorcycle, what Yamaha told him that he could and could not run, stuff he wanted to run couldn't be put on the motorcycle for whatever reason. So there was a lot of tension there within the Yamaha truck. But yeah, if he gets on the podium, that's amazing. I think top 5 is realistic on a couple given nights. But
top 10 is it would be all I would expect.
I'd say consistent top 10 throughout the year.
I'd say Dean Wilson's going to come on. I think he's going to be good. I think Rock Tickle.
Yeah, I was talking about him. He got that new factory KTM ride in Dungy's place.
I think he's going to surprise some people.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be a good season.
I'd like for Brock to just get a start. I like Brock. I've known him a long time. I'd like to see him. But moving away from Supercross, we have the 2018 Action Sports Arena Motocross this weekend. You've been doing this event a long time. I think we said this is
31 years.
Oh shoot! Keep talking about the race.
Why?
I think the camera died maybe. Somehow.
We still on video?
Yeah, we're still live. We got audio, so keep going.
All right. Yeah, we're 31 years in. We have had a lot of success in Huntington. It's got a great crowd, good riders, and it's been a great event.
What are some of your more memorable favorite moments from that race? You've been doing it a long time. You've had a lot of guys, former Supercross riders, arena cross riders, champions, in there. What are some of your favorite memories from those races?
I don't know. There's been a lot of them. I've had a lot of friends ride it. I liked it when Mike Bias rode down there, and he won in front of his home crowd. That was always fun. We've had a lot of really good riders. Bias and Dave Hand, Mike Jones, Todd DeHoop, Keith Bowen. We've had some really good riders. Kenny Kazar, Whitcraft brothers, the Willard brothers, Jeff Gibson, Willie Browning. We've had Mike Brown, Brock Sellards. Back in the early days, in Columbus, we had Mike LaRocco and Jeff Stanton. Probably those are the 2 most famous riders that ever rode my arena cross events.
You mentioned Bias and Jones. Was it at Huntington or one of the other races that you did? Because you always ran your arena cross series as a 15-round series. What race was it, if you can remember the location, where Bias and Jones got into it?
Oh, that's happened a few times, but you need to turn it. There. They told me the story. I think Bias may have been winning it, and Jones took him out and hit him, knocked him off the track. And I forget what race it was. And then I think it was in Louisville, possibly, when Jones was winning it, and Bias took Jones and himself out. And Jones said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Hey, man, I live at home. I don't need the money." He said, "You ever touch me again, I'll take you out every week." So that was the beginning of the end of that situation for those guys and that rivalry. But they were good competitors, and they ended up being really good friends on the racetrack, off the racetrack, and they were tough competitors on the racetrack, but still a lot of fun.
I always like when you guys all get together. You guys don't all get it together at the same time, but when you and Bias get together, or you and Dave Hand, or you and Jones, and then a few years ago was you, Dave Hand, and Mike Jones when they were all down here for a RodeLink qualifier. Just you guys all going back and forth with the stories, not even race related, just all the stupid crap you guys did. A lot of it was to each other, a lot of the stupid pranks you guys did, but it's always cool, hearing you guys go back and forth on that, and that's something I'd really like to do at some point. Get you and Jones, Bias, Dave Hand, Keith Bowen, get some of you guys in here all at once and just have a big powwow session, because I think that's what I get a lot of enjoyment out of, is just listening to you two guys, listening to all you guys just go on story after story after story.
Well, we had a lot of fun, and I've been doing this a long time, and when I started in Nelsonville on my night track, I mean, I had some $5,000 purse races, and man, I'll tell you, we had some good riders, and early on, Stanton and LaRocco would go at it, and then Jones was there, and Tommy Watts, Fred Andrews. Sheesh, I'm just trying to think back how far it goes. And that was when we were back in the woods, in the track we used to call Lost Hollow, on the Supercross track, and then we moved out on the highway, and built that Supercross style track out there on the highway, and we had Stevie Childress. He was always fast and always competitive, and Dave Hand, Jones, DeHoop, Lance Smale from Washington was here one time. Damon Bradshaw was here one time.
I remember Brownie coming out once in a while back in the
Mike Brown
mid-90s.
came out quite a bit, and Brock Sellards, and we had Sam Gammon and I had a deal at Muddy Creek, because there'd be a national one weekend, and then a weekend off, and then a national the next weekend. I think it went from maybe Broome, Tioga, and Unadilla with a week between. So since they were in the neighborhood, I would pay a big purse on Saturday night, $5,000 or $6,000, and Sam Gammon would pay a big purse on Sunday. And we had an agreement that I would run the pro class early on Saturday night and tell the pro riders that Sam Gammon was holding the practice on Sunday at noon. So it was like a 6-hour trip from my track to Sam's track. So they had time to get down there and get some sleep before they got practice. But Sam used to call me, and he'd say, I remember one time he said, "I heard you had a national the other night." And I said, it was good. I think we had a 23-man gate, and it was full, and probably half of them were national numbers. And we used to have big crowds. I lived in a town, Nelsonville, which I never would have made it probably in this business had it not been for a great little town called Nelsonville, and a lot of people in it that really helped me more than I could ever say, and more. There's so many people. I mean, we maybe could get into that someday, but
yeah, everything you've ever told me, just what you went through, and then even before, just to even get the first race started, and then just everything that you've been through, working the races. I've said this to you before. We've talked about it. I want you to write a book, or sit down with a recorder, and just because just all the stuff that you went through, and even after you got going and you got successful with everything you did, because you pretty much were the pioneer of arena cross. You basically put it to where or at least helped, or definitely put it on the map, and got it to where it is today. The game's obviously changed a lot as far as how things are going, or at least on the local promoter front compared to the national scene. But you really did it big. You did it right. You caught it in the right time with.
I was
the right riders, the right area. You pretty much caught it, you know, in that 15-year window that you did.
I was fortunate that I hit it at the right time. I had a passion for it. I worked hard at it, worked very hard at it. I had no money when I started. You know, my first sign-up stand was made out of saplings that I cut down off of Carl Altier's land down there where my first racetrack was. Had an orange tarp that went over that. Poor Sheila Bond and her husband Rick, they were the first people that ever really truly helped me. And tell you the truth, I can't even remember if I paid them in the early years, because you know, it just didn't make any money, but I just wanted to do it. I just remember on a rainy night, the water dripping through the tarp down this clamp light that we had with a table underneath that tarp, and that's where Sheila did the tallying and sign up and all that. And lucky we didn't get electrocuted, but I don't know if I wasn't smart enough to know or didn't care. But those were the tough days. It was just, you know, that's all I wanted to do was run motorcycle races, and I wanted to be good at it and wanted to run big races. And I ran some, we called that track Lost Hollow, and I did that at first, ran up there, and then we moved it out on the highway. But when we got out on the highway and had some big races in August, in between a couple of races, you know, Nelsonville's a town of about 5,000 people, and we had, I think the biggest crowd I ever had down there was 5,018 people, and we counted that from 5 o'clock on. We didn't count the riders and the people that came in with the riders. We counted spectators.
Yeah, because I remember all those years back when you ran that track, you'd split it. You'd put riders on the one side of the track and the spectators all on the other side.
Yeah, we had the pits. We had a designated pit area, and we had grandstands and all that stuff, and it was you know, good, really good lighting for a amateur night track. The lighting was good. Good dust control and good, decent equipment. Water trucks weren't that great, but they worked, and we were right there by the river, so it was you know, water access was good. And you know, the first time I ever ran a race on my night track, a guy named Kenny Hanning gave me a pump, and the suction hose had a hole in it or something, and I didn't know. I was brand new. I didn't know anything about it, and we couldn't figure out why the pump wouldn't work. Excuse me. So I had a bunch of people there, and I had the track disked up. My aunt and uncle gave me an 8-in Ford tractor, and Carl Altier, who was very instrumental in the success of my business, let me use his disc that they had on the track down there, and I had the track disked up real deep, and then I had no water, which, you know, it was just powder. It was terrible. So I called in a brush fire, hoping to get the fire department to come down, and they asked me if it was near a structure, and I said no, and then I called back and said it was near a structure, and they kind of caught on to what I was doing. So I didn't know what to do, so I went to the mayor's house, Ralph Davis, and told him what was going on, and he called Kevin Canner at the Nelsonville Fire Department and said, Kevin, get down there and spray some water on that track for that boy and get back there. Get back as fast as you can. So that was my first potential disaster, and it was still a dusty mess. It was still a dusty mess, but we got through it, and I swore to everybody that if we made it through this race, that I would never have another dusty race. And I'm not saying that I haven't gotten some races that didn't get dusty, but I've never had one that was bad or that got out of hand ever since that day. And that's a pet peeve of mine, dust control and track prep and safety and all that. So I don't know. It's been tough, and I had a lot of help from a lot of people and did everything I could to make the thing go.
I think what's cool about everything that you've done, or at least as, you know, once you started running the racetrack, was, you know, there's two constants from 1979 to now. So I mean, we're coming up on your 40th year here in 2018, your 40th year doing this, and there's two constants, and that's you and Sheila, because Sheila's still with us.
Yeah.
And I mean, and
she hadn't missed very many races.
Right, and I know, like, her and Mom, you know, and some of the other girls, it's, you know, the big running joke is that Sheila was your first wife, which, I mean, in a sense, I mean, she was with you about, what, 8 years, almost 10 years before Mom?
I don't know.
Something like that. So.
I don't know the math, but yeah, she's been a great help, and she keeps trying to quit and retire, but we won't let her. So she'll be here. She'll be at the race in Huntington, and her daughter Angie has worked with us practically since she could, and I mean, I've known Angie since the day she was born practically, and you know, the amount of people that have helped me along the way, the townspeople in Nelsonville, is, I mean, before I even start writing, or before I start saying their names, I'd like to just sit and write it down, because I'd hate to forget anyone. But my mom was my biggest supporter and my biggest, I don't know, she's the one that just, she would, you know, I told her what I'd want to do, and she'd say, you can do it. You just need to do it. You need to do it now while you're young. And I think it was because I had nothing to lose, had no money, and I just wanted to do it. Just wanted to run motorcycle races, and I went the first time I ever went to a pro race. Well, I shouldn't say that. I went in 1978. Carl Altier and I went to the Florida Winter Am Series, and I met the promoter down there, Bill West. And
Bill still talk today.
Yeah, probably once a week or so, or text or something like that. And we're friends, and we've had our differences, but everything's cool. And but we, I lost my train of thought.
Let's get away from that for a second. Let's get back on Huntington for a bit. You've been doing this since 1987, and then we had that lull in there, that 6-7 years where we weren't back in Huntington, and then we've been back since 2006 now, so this will be year 13 since we've been back. There's been a lot of change with, you know, the industry as a whole. You know, the economy. We had the crash about 10 years ago. Obviously, everyone's saying now, you know, and it's becoming more and more, you know, widespread, you know, as a cult almost. 2 strokes. We need 2 strokes, 2 strokes, 2 strokes. Do you think the 4 strokes hurt, or is it more the economy, or a combination of everything?
I think it's a combination of everything, but you can't, you know, when in 1999 when I sold out, I sold my arena cross business to, it was Pace at the time. It's the same people that Feld are now, but you could buy a new 250 for $4,500 or $5,000, you know, and now they're 8 or 10.
Yeah.
They're more expensive to work on. Yeah, I think it's hurt them. I think it's hurt the sport. I'm a 2-stroke fan. I think 4 strokes are better. I think they hook up better. I think they're faster, and you know, I think they're better. They perform better, but they, you know, if everybody's riding a 2-stroke, then what makes a difference? And there's, you know, 4 strokes are too loud in my opinion. Nothing to me sounds better than a good ripping 2-stroke of any size. But the economy has hurt. Gas prices have hurt. You know, everything's hurt it. We used to have 750 or so riders in Huntington for a 2-day event, and now we get 450 on a good year. You know, there's just a lot of changes, but we're still there. It's still a good crowd. Puts on a good show. You know, I'm a firm believer. strategy on this whole thing is that I'm a motorcycle race promoter that puts on motorcycle races for riders, and I hope a lot of people come and watch. And a lot of people, other promoters, put on a show for spectators and use riders to put on that show. And I think something gets lost in translation there. We try to do everything we can to put on a good, safe race for the riders, give them all the track time we can. You don't get that much track time, but we give them all we can. We give them, a lot of laps.
They get more than a lot of the other races.
Yeah. So I just, I want everybody to, when they leave my track, to feel like they got a good shake. And it was worth the money that they spent, because it costs a lot of money. There's no doubt about it. But I just want everybody to come and have a good time and enjoy their weekend, because they spend a lot of money to do it. So I feel it's my job to make sure they get everything they can out of it.
Well, on that note, where can everyone get information on the race? You can still pre-enter. You have until midnight tomorrow night to pre-enter for the race. That's at actionsportsracing.com, correct?
Right.
And what is it, 40 or 50 to pre-enter?
50 to pre-enter, $10 more if you wait and enter at the race. Pit passes are $20, and they are that's cheaper than a general admission ticket. General admission ticket with all the fees and everything from the arena and the box office are $25 for an adult and $15 for a kid. We have like ringside seats that are $5 more if you want to sit right next to the racetrack. It's going to be a cold weekend from what the weather forecast says, but it's a heated arena, heated indoor pits. It's not going to be warm, I can guarantee you that, but it's not like parking outside. So we're going to keep it as warm as we can keep it, and we usually have this big door that goes in underneath this 16-foot garage door, and we have it so people can go in and out all day long and keep it as warm as we can in there. But I don't think we're going to put that door in this year. I'm going to try to give everybody another couple minutes to warm up their bike, or another lap or two to get their bike warm, so they don't have to take them in and out, because the door off to the side of that garage door is kind of a pain to get your bike through. But if we'll play it by ear, and hopefully they've missed on the forecast, and it'll warm up a little bit. But it's gonna be a fun race. The dirt came in great condition. We run the same track design every year, and we've changed it. We've done everything, every different scenario, every different track layout and design, and some work, some don't. This one works the best as far as passing, safety, and everything. So we moved the rhythm section and the whoop section off different sides, and we try to change up the rhythm section a little bit to make it so there's different combinations. But other than that, it's basically the same track that we've run every year for the last 4 or 5 years, other than the rhythm combination. And I mean, different lines develop, and we move the corners in and out and try to change everything as much as we can. The finish line jump, we don't let the C riders or youth riders attempt that. We know that some of them can, but we know most of them can't. And for safety reasons, we don't let them do it. And that's just the way it is. So, but it's a good race. Everybody, for the most part, leaves with a smile on their face, and we make the track, fairly tough and demanding for everyone, but it keeps the speed slow, it keeps the racing tight, and usually the better rider in each class, no matter where they come off the gate, usually goes toward the front.
I was looking at, I think we got some big name, local pro riders coming. Levi's coming again. Levi Kilbarger's coming. Mike Mercer's going to come again. Ryan Smith out of Virginia, who race pro, runs Lake Sugar Tree in Virginia there. He's coming. I was looking at the pre-entry list, actually. Guess whose name popped up on the pre-entry list that we haven't seen in probably about 10 years? Ryan Brumfield.
Really?
Yeah, he pre-entered. There's only a couple of guys pre-entered in the pro classes, and he's one of them.
Jeff Gibson told me that he thought he was going to come.
It'd be cool if Jeff comes. You know, he's the 2009 Arena Cross champion, and you know, that year he won the title when we went to Dayton that year and watched, and he won that race. And that track was so rough and, you know, soft actually, and just rutted. But there was that rhythm section along the far side from where we were sitting, and for 25 laps, I think is what they were running back then. You know, until the end when lappers started getting in the way, with how rutted and soft that was, every lap, triple. I mean, everyone else would, you know, go 2 and then 3, or 3 and then 2 and bobble it all up, and he was
he's an amazing rider and smooth and calculated. It's a pleasure to watch him ride.
He's one of those guys I've always liked watching. You know, right along there with you know, Kevin Windham, McGrath. You know, I think Jeff's always had that good style that is always cool to watch ride. But yeah, so that we'll wrap that up. If you wanna get out of here, I'm gonna finish up on a few more things. Talk some more A1 in the 250 class. So you can stick around if you want to, or you can get out of here.
I'm out. Thank you, everybody, and hope to see you in Huntington. And hope this webcast. Hope you join in every week and support Kyle's webcast here. And he's a college of information, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to get better and better every week. So thanks a lot.
Thanks. Appreciate you coming in. Once again, the info for the race for the 2018 Action Sports Arena Motocross. Watch Bumping the Camera. You can find that at www.actionsportsracing.com. Once again, tomorrow is the final night to pre-enter. If you get it in by midnight, $50 to pre-enter, $10 more. This is per class per day at the event. Like he was saying, a lot of track time, and you know, great time all around. It's real close to everything. The hotel's right next door. A lot of places to eat within a block or two. We got the Pullman Plaza there. Really good time. So any information you want to find out about that event, once again, go to actionsportsracing.com. We're going to move on from here and go to we'll do another sponsor plug. Once again, this show's presented by AOMC. Once again, go to aomc.mx. Sign up for the Brackcoin Rewards Program. You know, you can redeem points towards future purchases for discounts on future purchases at AOMC. Great shipping options. You know, have your stuff within a few days. So head on over to AOMC. Once again, thanks again to Weisco for getting on board with us with the show, along with ProX and Bonsai Suspension. We want to thank all those guys. And like I said, you know, as you've been seeing, little discombobulated with everything going on, trying to get the system figured out. But I appreciate you guys sticking with me, you know, the 6 of you that are still with me. But we'll go back into A1, you know, one more time. We'll talk 250s a little bit. We're not entirely sure what coast everyone's going to be running. We got a pretty good idea. I have a pretty good idea from some reports that I've read. Things could always change. We still have 6 days until the race. But Justin Hill, the defending 250 West champion, he's on a Suzuki this year, and a lot of people asked me when he made the switch to the JGR Auto Trader Suzuki team, they're like, man, why wouldn't he stay with Pro Circuit? You know, he knows the bike, he won on that bike, why wouldn't he stay? Well, here's the reason why. You know, last year with about 3 races left, AMA changed the rule for 250 riders. They could get 4 years of eligibility instead of the typical 3, you know, if they win a championship or score so many points, whatever. And, you know, they changed it to where it's 4 years now instead of 3. So, you know, had it been 3, Justin would have been looking for a ride. Aaron Plessinger would have been looking for a ride. Joey Savaggi would have been looking for a ride. I think Davalos, maybe. Davalos, that's another mystery in itself. But Justin is on the 250 this year, but he will be on the 450 next year in 2019, because since he won that title this year, he moves out of the class. in 2019, and he's going to be on a 450. So, you know, it was a good move for him to get a ride locked in early instead of sticking with Pro Circuit for this year, maybe winning another title, and then possibly being without a ride. You know, the obvious choice would be to go to Monster Energy Factory Kawasaki if there's a spot available. We don't know if there's going to be a spot available or not if Josh Grant doesn't have that position next year, because Eli's going to have it, I believe. I think he's still got another year left on his contract after this season. I could be wrong. But, you know, so Justin is going to be the odds-on favorite to win that championship again this year. As far as Monster Energy Pro Circuit, what I'm hearing, what the intent is for Adam Cianciarulo to ride West Coast aboard the number 92, and then on the number 29, Martin Davalos. Davalos gets another shot with Mitch Payton and Pro Circuit, which is now his 12th year in the 250 class. So, you know, we eventually he's gonna go. Eventually, Davalos will be forced to ride a 450 full time. Whether he gets a ride will be another story, but he will at some point be forced to ride a 450. He will never ever ride a 250 again. So, before we get on a Martin Davalos Ecuadorian rant here, so those two guys along with Hill are going to go in the Yamaha camp. I think it's going to be Plessinger and maybe Oldenburg, or Plessinger and Justin Cooper, the rookie, coming in. You know, because you know, they signed Oldenburg. Colt Nichols is hurt, so they're going to bump him to the east. Ferrandis has been hurt, so he might go east. So there's 5 riders on that team. They're going to put 2 in one, 3 in another. I think they're going to go 2 west, so that might be Plessinger and Justin Cooper. Plessinger is going to be out of the 250 class this year if he scores enough points. So this is it for him as far as a championship is concerned. If he can get off the line, he's more than capable of winning that championship. You know, if he can't get a start, where it's really going to hurt him if he can't get a start is those Triple Crown races. If he can't get a start in those Triple Crown races, especially with how short 2 of those mains are, 6 and 8 minutes, that's going to be rough on him scoring points towards the championship. So this is do or die for him. You know, if he can get a start, we know his program's good, working with Garrett Swanepoel. So, you know, he basically it's do or die, I think, for Plessinger. Justin Cooper, I'm really interested to see what he can do in the 250 class this year. You know, we saw great things out of him in motocross last year at Unadilla, getting that second moto. So I think Cooper is going to be really strong this year. Troy Lee Designs, I think they're putting Shane McElrath and Alex Martin on the west. Shane, I think, is looking for a little bit of redemption. He won the first 2 races last year and then had the bike malfunction at round 3, and he got 1 more win on the year. But that bike malfunction really derailed his title. And I think he's looking for redemption this year to go after Justin Hill and get that 2018 West title. Alex, his season got cut short last year over on the east with that run-in with Christian Craig. So, you know, if he can... That was such an unfortunate deal, but if Alex can... I think Alex is a potential winner. I really do. And I like Alex. You know, talked to him a lot of times over the years. Met him about 10 years ago. You know, great kid. He and Jeremy both. So, yeah, I'd like for Alex to get on the podium, maybe get a win this season, because I think he might be out of a ride. You know, have to move up to the 450s next year. So we'll see what happens there. You know, the Husqvarna team, that's an interesting dynamic because we got Michael Moseman, and we got Moseman, Zach Osborne, who is going to run east. Zach, unless something changes, Zach will run 250 east this year and defend that title. Moseman will probably go west. And Mitchell Harrison, who's new to the team this year, will probably go west as well. I want to say I'd like to see Mitch on the East Coast actually, and you know, he gets a great shot with that Husqvarna team. Honda, Geico Honda is, from what I'm hearing, it's going to be Jeremy Martin. The big question is, can Jeremy actually put it together? You know, if you think, you know, for everyone watching, weigh in on this. Jeremy has spent he spent 4 or 5 seasons now in the 250 class in Supercross. He has missed races in 3 of these seasons. So if he can right the ship, he's won races. We know he can win races. Can he win the championship though? You know, so I'm really interested to see what Jeremy can do. Just because of what he hasn't shown us on a consistency level. You know, and last year was a train wreck. Let's just be honest about it. Not to harp on Jeremy or Geico Honda or anything, but last year was not, you know, even the seasons that he missed races was better than what happened than anything last year. But I think he's running west. Christian Craig is running west this year. I think, you know, it obviously was a fail taking him east. Last year, he had the podium at the first round, and then it just all went to hell in a handbasket afterwards. But I think Craig has new life in him after 2017, so he's a championship contender, and I think they're going to put Chase Sexton on the west. We still haven't seen Sexton run a Supercross yet because he got hurt at his first try in Atlanta. He keeps getting delay, hurt. So I'm interested to see what Sexton can do. And then the other guys, I think, you know, Hampshire, I believe, is going to run east. And I think McAdoo is going to run east. We'll see what happens. Like I said, none of this is set in stone. Things could change here in the next 5-6 days. But, you know, that basically sets up the 250 class for A1, you know, as far as I know. You know, so I'm gonna wrap it up here. You know, like I said, A1's this weekend. You can catch that on Fox Sports actually. First round of Arena Crosses this weekend at Nutter Center in Dayton, and then of course the big one, the Action Sports Arena Motocross in Huntington, West Virginia. Once again, you can pre-enter up through tomorrow night. All the info is at actionsportsracing.com. Thank you for everyone that watched and stuck this out with me, and anyone that's going to watch this later. I appreciate it. I will get better at this. I will not have so many technical problems. This is the first run with some new equipment, new software, and everything. But you know, I appreciate you guys all sticking around with me, and I will get better at this. But for now, I'm going to sign off. Once again, thank you to AOMC.mx. You know, you head over there, get some great products, register for that BRAP coin. Wiseco Performance products with their pistons, their clutches, and the clutch baskets with lifetime warranty. ProX Performance with their piston parts and the rods, the crank systems, everything. Thanks again to them for coming on board, and also Bonsai Suspension, Levi, Joe Barger, and the guys supporting us out with the show. So once again, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time on episode 2, hopefully next week after Huntington.